Welcome to Health IQ, a podcast from the Quay County Health Council. In this podcast, we are exploring a variety of health topics that affect our community and probably yours too. We are not professional podcasters, but volunteers that have a passion for wellness. We will share practical ideas and resources for people with limited access to services. And we have some fun tips to help you and your family stay healthy and well. Increase your health IQ as you listen to our members as they talk and share with experts and others about the health matters that matter to you.
Welcome to another episode of Health IQ, where we are exploring fascinating insights into health and well-being. Today's episode is all about kindness and the incredible impact it has on individuals and communities. Today I have with me myself, Brenda Bishop. I also have Joyce, Runyan, and Rachelle Moon, who are members of our community's Kindness Committee. So this all started with me having this vision that I wanted to make Quay County the kindest county in the nation. And there's several reasons for that. I thought if we can make parents kinder and the people they interact with kinder, maybe that would reach down into our schools, our kids, and our kids would be kinder in our schools. But also, it can make a big economic impact to our small community.
Especially because we're tourism-based. We have a lot of tourists that come through here.
Right. So I sort of got my idea by remembering a story from the Chicken Soup for the Soul books. This is a book that came out. There was a whole series of them, but this one is early 90s. And this story has always stuck with me. And I'm just going to try to paraphrase it, but it's called The Love and the Cabbie. And basically, there are two men who are traveling, businessmen who are traveling in a cab through New York City. And this is in the 90s when maybe New York was sort of more like the world is today. And so when they get to their destination, the one businessman tells the cabbie, "Thank you so much. You did a wonderful job for getting us here. I really appreciate how well you drove." And the cabbie looks at him like, "Have you lost your mind? Are you really?"
What are you on?
And the man says, "No, I'm serious. I really appreciate how safely you got us here. And thank you." And so they get out of the cab and he sees some construction workers building a building. And he says, "Man, that building looks magnificent. It's going to be a great building. Thank you for all your hard work and the time and skills you're putting into that. When is it going to be done? I want to come back and see it."
Oh.
And then, the construction workers tell him, and they look at him like he's sort of weird. And they walk down the road, and he winks at a lady and smiles at her. And the businessman says, "What is wrong with you?" The other businessman. And he goes, "Oh, I have a mission. I'm trying to make New York the kindest city. And I'm doing that by spreading kindness. And I think this will work." He goes, "I was kind to that cabbie, and that will make him be kinder to his next fare. And maybe if he sees 20 people throughout the day, maybe he's kind to all of them." And then they go home and they're like, "Wow, somebody was kind to me. Well, I'll be kind," and they'll be kind. And he goes, "Who knows? That girl might have been a teacher. And, she's going to a classroom with students. And maybe her day will improve and their day will too." And those construction workers, they'll come in contact with other people. They'll go home to their families. And I feel that I can affect up 2,000 people by just being kind to a few. And it costs me nothing.
Yeah.
Not even time, really. So that is the story I remember. And I thought we could do that here in Quay County. So I got some people together and we formed a committee. We launched our stuff a couple months ago. And we still have some more things we want to do. But I'll let some of these members tell you a little bit about the research. When I decided, well, we better make sure we could do this, and there's some research.
Yeah, there has to be research.
So I'll let some of them tell you a little bit about some of the research we found.
So there is some recent research that reveals the elevation of it's something called moral elevation. And so basically what that means is when someone witnesses kindness by someone else, it inspires them to act kindly themselves. So that's kind of interesting to think about.
That is, because then maybe if you see something that is not so kind, maybe that would also influence you to reciprocate the same way.
Right. I was thinking, things like groupthink where, they say if a group, like a mob is doing something. So I guess this could work both ways, in a negative way, or in the case of kindness, in a positive way.
Very good. So we want to make sure that we're always having a good example for how we're interacting with people.
Yeah.
And genuine as well. Not just saying, oh, you did a good job.
Right.
To be sincere about what you're saying.
So something meaningful. And
Yes.
it doesn't have to be something big, right? It could be something small, like you gave us the example in the story, just thanking someone for something you're actually paying them to do, but telling them they're doing a good job or thanking them,
Right. So the research got even a little deeper.
Okay.
Yes. And it talked about if you see somebody being rewarded for a kind act that they did, that you are more likely to do a kind act.
Oh.
And the reward could be something as simple as that thank you. So
Just someone noticed.
that somebody noticed that somebody did something kind, so then you're more inclined to do that. Of course, research also said that women are more inclined to reciprocate kindness than men, but that was just something else that came up. But I think I've seen plenty of kind acts with gentlemen lately.
Well, I was just thinking about how women's brains work. We always have all the tabs open.
And
So we notice all the things going on where men tend to have, the one tab, they're task oriented.
Well, and women are more wordy as well. So
Right.
you've got a lot of words going on in your mind. And, I saw this and this and this and this. So, so I think that does happen. But men, I think just the way they interact with each other is different as well. So not that there aren't kind men out there, but I think they may show that in different ways. Maybe holding a door open for somebody and not really, maybe saying something, but I do think they do those acts of kindness as well.
Well, I've seen men helping people with packages at the post office, especially, trying to get the doors open and carrying those big boxes that are coming in at the post office. That can be a challenge, especially for someone older. I see men, of course, doing that door opening, but letting others go in front of them in line. So I think there is some of that we sometimes think of as kind of manners, our manners, that is actually gone by the wayside so much that it's now kindness.
Yeah.
So, and so we have our ambassadors out doing some of these rewards.
We do. We've partnered with several organizations and people who are willing to be on the lookout for our community with watching for kind acts. And when they do that, we've got these little stickers, and they're really tiny, but they've got a llama on it. Our motto is, it's no problema to be kind. So our sticker has the llama on there, and it says, you are kind. And this is what's getting handed out when people are caught doing a kind act. And Brenda has actually had some reports back from our ambassadors about how that's gone.
Oh, yes. And the other bit of research that these ambassadors are actually proving to us is that good feeling you get when you do a kind thing. And so when they are telling me that when they see somebody be doing something kind, they run out and get them a sticker. And that person who receives the sticker is like shocked. And then one lady told me that she saw a kind act and she didn't have her stickers in her pocket. So she ran to her car, got them, and chased her down in the parking lot, gave her a sticker.
And right.
And the girl just broke down in tears because she was having such a bad day that that sticker brightened her day.
Wow.
Well, it made the ambassador feels so good that she had recognized that I mean, she got gung-ho trying to find people to give
Who
stickers
else can I
to,
give a sticker
because
to?
she felt really good about, even though she wasn't the one doing the kind act, by rewarding the person. So there's that as well.
And the person that received the act, I'm sure, was very happy as well too.
It sounds like
Right.
it was very meaningful in that situation.
And then
for
I
sure.
had another ambassador tell me he witnessed some rude behavior from a customer,
Oh no.
really rude behavior to a cashier at one of the stores. And she was polite and didn't,
kept on in her customer
just
service.
doing her customer service and didn't yell back or any of those things. And he was so touched that he gave her a kindness sticker and the smile that broke across her face.
Oh.
And he goes, I hope that helped her after that man was so rude to her. So we have, those are a couple of the stories I've heard. I've heard other people just saying how good it made them feel to be able to have a way to thank somebody for doing something kind.
Well, I was thinking even for our ambassadors, being on the lookout, just having your eyes opened to others being kind is important. Instead of looking to be offended or hurt or fearful, we're looking to be kind.
Instead
we're
of
looking,
expecting the
we're
worst,
looking for kindness.
we're expecting good things
So
to
that's
see.
good for our ambassadors too, I would imagine.
So the other thing we're doing with our ambassadors, with our kindness program, is that we have these shirts, and everybody on our kindness committee has them. And it's the llama, like I told you. And we do actually have these for sale if you would like one as well. But they say Quay County in there, but that's okay. You can support Quay County too. So if you're interested in that, you can contact us at our Health IQ podcast at Gmail, and we'd be happy to get one of those to you. And you can start a kindness campaign in your own community too.
Yes.
So one thing that we also did, because we are the Health Council, we have to have numbers and statistics for everything. So we did a survey based on one that was being done in London at the time. And we completed 225, and we also had them available in Spanish. And it was on a scale of 5, I believe.
Right.
And so we were able to get some baseline numbers for how people felt in our community, especially after COVID, when everything was shut down and we were isolated. And I think that really broke down a lot of the community connectedness and some of these things that used to be manners, as you said. And so we had some mixed stuff when I was there, and people were taking it. It was interesting because when we talked about our community, they always talked about, well, I live by my family, and so my community is kind. And I was kind of always like, well, okay, but your community maybe should be a little bigger than your family, than the immediate block that you're on. And so I think even some of our perceptions of what we call community, of what we call those, has kind of shrunk just a little bit. So we're hoping to have that expand and have those kindness interactions between not just, your own block, but extend past that. So I think that's also a good thing and exciting. And we will, I'm sure we'll go back and visit this again and see if we've made an impact. And as Brenda said, we are slowly rolling out some things. So we rolled this out around our fair time, and then we're going to have some more things coming out where we're going to be working with the schools. And we do actually have a kindness bracelet that I have on too. So we've got all sorts of things that we're trying to promote kindness with in Quay County.
So one of the things that I noticed about the data is people were answering all the questions that sort of showed that they had a kind community higher than the actual one where it said, my community is kind. And so that told me that they were listening to a lot of that stuff on social media or buying into the news stuff and not realizing that our community is actually very kind, but we're not understanding that. And and the other thing is maybe they're just not getting out in the community very much. So I think we have some perception things as well to work on. We do have some tips for starting being kind. And you could we do have a lot of social media posts on our social media at Quay County Health, Facebook and Instagram. So, there's always all kinds of tips about how to be kind. But one of the things kindness starts with.
So kindness starts with self-compassion. That's something that we've learned in some of our research. So you've got to be kind to yourself first, really, before, or think kindly of yourself.
Yeah.
Before you often think kindly of other people or are able to put that into play. So if you're being really self-negative and letting things get in your head and ruminating on negative things, it's going to be a lot more difficult to be kind. So it's important to remember to have self-compassion and not beat yourself up for whatever reason you choose. But be kind.
And
give yourself some grace and some
It's
space.
definitely. I think that's a huge tip. Yeah. And we all have that self-talk that we do and hear. And I just have to say mine is not always so positive. And
I don't be very hard on ourselves.
I don't think I'm really a negative person, but I think sometimes my self-talk isn't so positive. So that's something that's really important for you to think about too. So I found a sign, and it talks about choosing kindness, and I think that's another thing that we can do as a tip. You can choose to be kind. It doesn't have to be something. I don't necessarily think it's automatic, because you can have a bad day, but you can still choose to be kind. I was out of town the other day because we live in a small place, and sometimes you got to go somewhere else and get things. And I bought me the cutest pair of earrings. Hopefully you'll see them at some point. And they didn't get into my bag. So I was like really disappointed, because it's a bit of a drive for me to go back and get these earrings. And I thought, okay, I'm going to have to call and say, do you have my earrings? And hopefully this person will remember me. And they were like, oh, yeah, I know you were here. And golly, I'm just so sorry that. And then I told her, well, I don't live in town. And then she's like, oh, I feel even worse. And I could have just been really
the angry customer.
Yeah, I could have. And I was in my rights to do that. And I was just like, that's okay. I'm glad that you still have them. I'm glad you're going to hold on to them. And I'll come back in at some point and I will get those. And maybe I'll talk to a friend who might travel that way more frequently than I do and see if I can get them here sooner. But she was really happy that I was not mean. And I was really happy that I was not mean, because that would affect the rest of my day too. And my husband was also really happy that I was not mean, because that affects his day as well. And so you can choose how you're going to behave. And I just want to remind you of that as you go around and you're thinking about, well, should I be kind? And the answer is yes.
Well, and there's research to show that there is a big link between your personal happiness and how kind you are.
Yeah. I believe that, because if you're, it makes sense. If you're thinking kindly of yourself and you're acting kindly, you're going to be a happier person.
Yeah.
You're going to have a happier life. People will be happier to be around you.
And I think that's a very, very good thing to think about too, is how you're interacting with other people and how they see you. So, I am going to just leave you guys with a thought. And this says, the greatest impact we have on our family, our friends, and our world is our kindness and love. And that's from Jonathan Lockwood Huey. And so as we think about, as we go through our day, the impact we want to make, the legacy we want to leave behind of who we are as people, I think kindness is really one of the most beautiful things that I could have be said about my life and who I am as a person. I think sometimes we like to identify ourselves with a job, with a title, and all that goes away eventually. And you suddenly I'm just Joyce. And hopefully the legacy that I leave behind is that Joyce was a kind person. I used to think it was okay to be nice, but I think kind is really more it's a fuller word, and it's one that's filled with grace, and that's really who I want to be.
When I saw that quote, it made me really reflect on the family part and how so often we are not as kind to our family members because they have to love us, right?
Well, they don't have to love us.
They have to live
But
with
hopefully
us.
we're lovable.
Yes.
But yes, we're the closest. They're the
And-
closest to us usually.
And the pact that we can make, especially with our young children, and teaching them to be kind, is if we are being kind as well as modeling being kind to other people, but also being kind to our own family.
And families, they always see you.
Well, I was going to say, I think in that quote, that's the people who really know you because they know your hard days often and your good days. And so they can attest to what kind of person you probably really are. And if they, testify when it says on here at the end, like this is, your eulogy.
Yeah.
That, they were good. They were kind.
Yeah.
And they were loving. And
When you
that
say-
is a worthwhile word.
Yeah. When you say eulogy, I don't know. You go to those services and you think, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think we can all agree today that kindness is powerful. It's a powerful force that not only has positive impacts on individuals, but can contribute to the overall well-being of communities. And I want to thank you all for joining us today with this episode of Health IQ. Remember, a little kindness can go a long ways. Stay tuned for more insights into health and well-being.
Thanks for tuning in.
See you later.
Bye.
If you have ideas for future podcast topics, be sure to reach out to us at healthiqpodcast@gmail.com. This podcast was made possible by a New Mexico Department of Health Better Together grant. Additional information about today's topic will be on the Health IQ blog located on the Quay County Health Council's website at www.qchealthcouncil.org. Be sure to follow the Quay County Health Council on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram at Quay County Health. This podcast was created solely for educational and entertainment purposes. It is not intended as a substitute for advice from a healthcare or mental health professional.